What's good, YouTube? We back with another video, and this video is kind of crazy. It says the Drake era is officially over. I don't understand like why people be hating on Drake. I don't think it's over, man. Let's just listen to it.
What happens when the most dominant artist of a generation stops feeling essential? For over a decade, Drake was pretty unavoidable, whether you regularly streamed his music or not. Every sound, mood, and even a few viral memes somehow ran through him. He himself was the trend. But in the last few years, something has shifted. Drake is still streaming and charting, and he still has millions of loyal fans, but yet culturally, the grip feels weaker, almost as though the authority he once had as a tastemaker feels questioned. So today we're asking the uncomfortable branding question. Is Drake's brand actually dying, or is he just entering more of a legacy phase that no longer needs cultural dominance to survive? Hey friends, I'm Anna the Marketeer, your friendly neighborhood marketeer baddie. I break down the branding and marketing strategies behind celebrities, creators, and campaigns to help you build an authentic, magnetic brand of your own. And today we're diving into Drake's brand history and what some might argue has been his downfall. But first, I know most of you watching aren't subscribed to my channel. If you've been liking my videos, please hit subscribe right now to support the channel, help your girl get to 20k subs, and continue to get weekly breakdowns just like this. And don't forget to join my newsletter, Marketer's Memo, to get your free authentic branding checklist. The link is in the description, and you can also listen to these episodes on Spotify. That link is in the description as well. Now let's break it down. How Drake built an untouchable brand. Aubrey Drake Graham, better known as Drake, is from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, or as many of you now know it as, The Six.
The Six!
Drake's rise was years in the making. He played Jimmy Brooks, sometimes referred to as Wheelchair Jimmy, if you know, you know, in the popular Canadian teen TV series Degrassi, and he launched his music career in 2009, a year after his 7-year stretch on Degrassi concluded. He entered the industry at a moment when rap was in a transition phase. The previous rap masculinity was moving away from being rigid, hyper-confident, emotionally closed off, and often detached from vulnerability. With the likes of T-Pain, Kid Cudi, and Kanye making more introspective singer-turned-rapper hip-hop at this time, there was a noticeable shift in the industry, and Drake really leaned into that. He was sensitive, introspective, and even insecure without abandoning commercial appeal, of course. From So Far Gone to Thank Me Later to Take Care to Nothing Was the Same,
bangers.
Drake positioned himself as the narrator for modern emotional complexity. He wasn't rapping at people, he was speaking for them. Branding-wise, this was genius. Drake built relatability at scale. He made listeners feel seen while still feeling aspirational. He blurred the line between pop star and diary entry, and the world rewarded him for it. But early dominance creates a dangerous illusion that what once worked will always work. Signature differentiator. Emotional chameleon energy. Drake's true superpower was adaptability. He could float between rap and R&B easily, and in my opinion, I'd say he did both pretty well. Like, Marvin's Room is still on repeat for me. I also think it's really important to mention that in the early days, Drake had a huge female fan base. His shows drew crowds of women, and that gave him a unique brand position for a male hip-hop artist. He was the artist you could go to his shows with your group of female friends, or go with your significant other, and both of y'all would be happy. A perfect example of this is 2011's Buried Alive interlude featuring Kendrick Lamar, who we will get back to later in this video. When Kendrick rapped, we talked casually about the industry and how the women be the tastemakers for the ish we make in. It was clear who Drake's target audience was at the time. However, I would say from about 2018 Scorpion onward, the marketing and brand pivoted. He became less soft and introspective and seemed to be pushing this more tough guy persona, which began to alienate some of his early female audiences. While this sustained him commercially and drew in a more male fan base, this is when I would say he would begin to fuel the clout chaser label that many, including Kendrick Lamar, would attach to Drake. His music seemed less unique and tastemaking and more commercial and chart focused. However, his flexibility made him feel omnipresent. movement. Nobody can deny that Drake mirrored culture, set trends, and had numerous sources of inspiration. He absorbed regional sounds like his Jamaican era or Dominican era, as some people made fun of him for, and made himself appeal to fans all over the globe. But here's the branding catch. Adaptability without evolution eventually results in music and a brand that is perceived as clout chasing and commercially driven and not authentic. That's why Drake is sometimes referred to as the McDonald's of hip-hop in online discussions due to his ubiquitous nature and accessibility. He's recognizable everywhere and accessible for almost everyone, but the negative connotation of that label is undeniable. When your audience starts recognizing the formula instead of the feeling, the magic starts to fade. If you've gotten this far into the video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't yet. Every click counts. When consistency becomes stagnation. Drake's brand grammar is still intact, but at this point, it may be perceived as played out. The late night introspection, the
websites your competitors don't want you to know.
Played out.
All you do is go to this website.
You can't be
and it
serious,
lets you find out exactly.
luxury loneliness, the subtle flexes wrapped in emotional fatigue, the familiar sonic palettes, the same visual codes with moody lighting, wealth as isolation, emotional distance framed as depth. Individually, these aren't flaws. They're actually like pretty strong things to build your brand on. But collectively, they've stopped surprising us. For years, Drake's consistency felt reassuring, but all things come to an end once the audience grows tired of the repetition or feels the artist is out of touch. One of the biggest contributors to Drake's cultural decline isn't failure, it's excess. Drake has been everywhere for so long that scarcity no longer exists. From a branding standpoint, this erodes perceived value. Scarcity creates anticipation, but oversaturation creates fatigue and dilution. I'd say there are three key aspects that really shook up Drake's brand position and fan base. The first is beef fatigue and authority erosion. For most of his career, public tension did work in Drake's favor. Subliminals, competitive posturing, and long-running rivalries reinforced his position at the top. They framed him as the artist everyone had to respond to. In branding terms, conflict functioned as proof of dominance. But then Kendrick Lamar happened. What began as a lyrical back and forth and speculated beef beginning in 2013 eventually became a cultural referendum. And what stood out wasn't that Drake participated or lost. It was how the participation was received. He was defensive, and the insistence on control began to read less like confidence sparring and more like brand preservation. A rap battle quickly turned into a lawsuit against UMG, initiated by Drake himself. At this point, Drake no longer felt like an unquestioned authority responding from above the noise. He felt like someone defending territory in an environment that no longer guaranteed him ownership. From
Kendrick, I don't know. I just think Kendrick did not win that battle. That's my opinion.
Branding perspective, conflict only reinforces authority when the authority feels secure. Once it feels reactive, the narrative flips. In the case of the Kendrick feud, the dominant struggle quickly turned into the entire world deciding who truly won. The feud and the accusations accompanying it punctured Drake's brand and eventually led some of his longtime listeners, especially other Canadians who were there from day one, to take Kendrick's side. The second key change is the generational shift, when the audience changes without you. Because audiences expand, deplete, and alter over time, and this might be the most under-discussed factor in Drake's perceived decline. Drake's audiences connected with him because he articulated emotional ambiguity at scale. Loneliness, security, romantic disillusionment, in a way mainstream hip-hop hadn't yet normalized and the average man or woman could relate to. He himself became a Toronto landmark, often seen supporting Toronto's NBA team, the Raptors, and spotted at venues around his home city and in the greater Toronto area. His music allowed him to personify the experience that a lot of others in their late teens to early 30s had. At the time, that was vulnerability. While Drake does have a significant Gen Z fan base, possibly because many listeners grew up with his music and because of his TikTok presence, it's not lost on any of us that Drake, along with his roots and original stands, is undeniably millennial. And bearing that in mind, Drake's emotional language, by contrast, has remained largely static or no longer relatable. This is interesting because millennials value self-awareness, growth, and evolution. We care about social responsibility and authenticity. A lot of his earlier themes around anxiety, relationships, and loneliness gave that feeling to us. However, because of his fame and success, he began to talk more about his dominance within the music industry, coming from being an underdog to dominance, misplaced loyalty, the struggles of fame, and other themes that really aren't as relatable to the common public. It's like he went from narrating the average late teens to early 30s experience.
It's crazy because everything he be talking about, I be relating to, bro.
Crying in gold handcuffs. Everything. What once felt intimate now kind of risks feeling unrelatable. The industry has also changed. Vulnerability now requires specifics and often self-awareness and context as well. Artists like Kendrick Lamar, Tyler the Creator, Frank Ocean, and SZA are known for interrogating emotion and getting political. They allow their aesthetics, messaging, and even public personas to evolve in visible ways. And this isn't a failure of talent on Drake's part, but more of a mismatch of timing. Coupled with the feuds, it left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. The culture didn't reject Drake, but it outgrew the version of emotional storytelling he continues to rely on. And that leads to the third aspect that has led to his brand decline: commercial success versus cultural direction. So here's the distinction that I believe often gets lost in debates about Drake's relevance. Commercial success and cultural leadership are not the same thing. Drake remains one of the most commercially dominant artists in the world. His streaming numbers, chart placements, and visibility are undeniable. But cultural relevance is about direction setting too. Who defines what comes next? Who influences the aesthetic, the emotional tone, the conversation? At this stage, Drake feels less like the North Star and more like the benchmark. And benchmarks exist to be measured against and eventually surpassed. So maybe his brand isn't collapsing, but it's definitely overdue for a transition.
They don't want you to know about it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Did you know you might get a big
Drake
cash payout if you were in a car accident up to 1 year ago,
bro.
even if you weren't driving?
Drake is the fucking GOAT.
Drake's legacy. Is this actually the end? So is Drake's brand dying? Truthfully, I'd say no. But the Drake era, the one defined by uncontested dominance, emotional leadership, and trend-setting authority, may be closing. What he's entering instead is legacy territory. And that's not an insult. Legacy brands steward relevance. So the question isn't whether Drake can still succeed. He clearly can. But whether he wants to redefine his role or maintain it. Right now, Drake appears more invested in sustaining position than reshaping identity. And that's a valid choice, but depending who you ask, it might not be the best one. And in branding, choosing comfort over evolution doesn't end a career, but it does change what that career represents. Defining the brand and brand lessons for you. Drake's brand pillars have always been emotional accessibility, adaptability, and cultural omnipresence. His emotional promise was, I articulate what you feel and what you experience, even when you don't know how to. That promise worked for a decade, but without evolution, even the strongest promise loses urgency. That's why there's some critical lessons we can learn from Drake's brand story. First, consistency without evolution is stagnation. Second, oversaturation erodes authority. Being everywhere makes nothing feel special. Third, cultural relevance requires listening, not just output. If your audience changes, your brand must respond, but it needs to feel authentic. And finally, legacy is not failure, but it demands reinvention. So in conclusion, I would say Drake's brand isn't dead, but it's responding to culture instead of defining it at this point in his career. And the difference between those two positions is everything. So the real question isn't whether Drake can still succeed, because truly, looking at the charts, he's still succeeding. It's whether he wants to evolve or if he's comfortable being the past benchmark instead of the future blueprint. So what do you think, marketeers? Is Drake entering his legacy era gracefully, or is he missing his last chance to redefine himself into something even bigger? I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Please drop it into the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. Share with a friend. friend if you care. And don't forget to subscribe to Marketer's Memo if you'd like more deep dive into topics like this. I always dive more into.
Okay, yeah, man. Drake is the GOAT. He gonna forever be the GOAT. That's all I gotta say. Make sure y'all drop a like, hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications. But one more thing. Y'all be hating on Drake, but low key be listening to him. I don't get y'all, you know what I'm saying? But hey, make sure y'all drop a like, hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications. See y'all in the next video. I'm out. Peace.